bit about the operation.
Well, we started. I said earlier we started the operation in 1997, kind of as a trial, as a pilot program, and it's grown to what you see now. What we do is we grind yard waste, and we do about we accept about 1,000 tons a year of yard waste. And what you see here is the food waste that we incorporate, and I said we accept that from 3 sources: the Walmart store here in Pendleton, the Walmart in Hermiston, and also EOCI. And we accept about just shy of 200 tons a year of food waste. So all combined, it's about 1,200 tons, about 100 tons a month of material that goes into this. And we'll look at the equipment in a little bit, but it's pretty capital intensive to provide this program. 1,200 tons a year divided by about $750,000 worth of equipment makes it pretty expensive material. But it's also the right thing, and it's reducing what's going to the landfill. And we'll get some video, get some more information about what we're doing here. We open this pile up and we'll dump food waste in. Let's walk back here.
Do you have to use a different? Okay. Do you have to use a different dump truck for this operation?
pumpkins.
The 5 to 1, you're meaning the one part?
Correct.
Okay.
5 carbon, 1 nitrogen.
Okay.
And that's not exactly right.
Where in California or what? Soil plant lab? Do they work with composting?
They do.
Yeah. Okay.
Carbon to nitrogen ratio.
Yeah, carbon to nitrogen ratio is important in composting, and that's part of managing the process. Ours is about 5 to 1, and we could reduce that. We could add more nitrogen. We could add more food waste into our process easily. But the whole key is you can't have that turn the other way because that recipe is critically important to your compost and keeping it in an aerobic state. As soon as you have too much nitrogen in the process, you can have serious odor problems, serious issues, and then you either need to add carbon to the process. And again, I mentioned we do about 1,000 tons of yard waste and about 200 tons of food waste a year, but we also process about 2,000 tons of wood waste a year. So if we needed additional carbon, we could add it easily, and we did that on purpose. We've never had an issue because we don't have enough grass clippings or food waste to get us to an anaerobic state. An anaerobic is over 160 degrees. That means when there's not enough oxygen in the process to keep it working correctly. And you can tell by the smell here today, it smells fruity or like silage wood.
Yeah.
Anaerobic, you would know. When your grass clippings go bad, that's what anaerobic is. This is pallets and lumber and from contractors and sheet metal.
Does that go to a landfill?
No, it doesn't. That actually gets burned in a boiler in Lewiston.
Nice. Renewable energy.
Right, it does. It creates energy. Name. Clearwater paper. In Lewiston.
Nice.
Accepts all the ground wood waste. They burn it in a boiler and produces steam for electricity.
Biomass energy.
Yeah, right. Again, that's about the amount of the wood waste we do is about twice what we do in our oversized dog. Isn't that handy for you guys to see? We can walk
It's okay.
Look. This is where they're screening the oversize, and you can't see much, but you see in here with rocks and normally there's plastic and a lot of stuff. Sometimes, if it's clean enough and fine enough, we'll regrind it and reuse it and put it back through the composting process. But if it's contaminated enough, it ends up going to the landfill. And that's, we've done everything we can with it. There's no other home for it, so that's.
And even you providing this service is one step keeping it out of the landfill anyway.
Right.
So.
We're getting everything we can get out of it.
Yep.
Would that otherwise go into a compost if it was shredded down and you would do that? That pipe.
So this is the magnetics. And so when this stuff, when pallets get ground, or anything with nails, staples, all this stuff you see gets ground, that top roller magnets it and slings it over underneath the bottom. You see the chute, the slide underneath? That metal goes down that slide and underneath the conveyor. That's what all this stuff is.
So that's how you get it out. So all of this metal right there.
So we're talking about markets for finished compost, and one of the challenges we face is having enough markets for the material that we produce. And we've sold to the general public, we sell to wineries, to nurseries, and that isn't enough demand for what we produce. So we have an agreement with a local organic farmer, and he purchases about 75% of what we produce on an annual basis. I mentioned earlier that I took some of the finished materials to some land I own and land applied it. And the reason I did that was just because we didn't have a home for it. This was before the organic farmer. We didn't have a home for it. So I went and land applied, I don't know how much, but on about 3 acres of property I own. And it was fantastic soil amendment, but that's finding a home to go put it somewhere. And it is a benefit to wherever you're gonna do it, but it's, as far as the farming practice, it's expensive because we sell it. Our finished product is $20 a cubic yard, so it's not cheap. But what else can I answer for you?
Yeah, we had wanted to know what were some of the considerations. So DeArcie has been talking about like if we wanted to expand this out on the reservation, what are some things that we should be aware of with this kind of operation?
That would be. I mean, I don't know whether, so the most important things, of course, in the reservation is a little different because DEQ permitting isn't necessarily a consideration there. It would be anywhere else, but DEQ permitting for a solid waste disposal site and a composting operation is one of the main considerations. That requires land use approval, that requires public notice to neighbors because of the potential odor issues, etc. And that may not be the case as much on the reservation. But the biggest thing we talked about is it's a capital intensive operation. It requires some kind of method to grind, unless it's an anaerobic digester, and that's food waste only. But if you're talking about, carbon material, yard waste, as well as food waste, you're talking about some method to grind it, some method to be able to turn it, whether it's a compost turner or a front end loader like we do, and some method to screen it. And we started small. You can start with smaller equipment, but even the smaller equipment, the reason we bought a screener that size is because the ones that are a quarter that size cost the same money, basically. The mechanics are the same, it's just smaller pieces. So it's capital intensive. I mean, and you talked about grant funding, that's available and that's out there. And of course, labor and management practices are important because it can be a messy operation, it can be a stinky operation. And I mentioned the recipe is really important, how much of what material goes in. And the other thing that we did not talk about out there, and you saw us cover food waste immediately with existing compost, is vectors. That draws birds, it draws rodents, it draws all kinds of things. And that's part of the reason for the permitting, is because all those things have to be controlled. So
Yeah.
I think that's, unless there's anything else.
No, that's amazing.